This has serious implications for the Cavs. Today we're going to talk about a team that I believe has not received its due diligence and its respect when it comes to who has a chance to knock the Cavs off if they were to meet in a playoff series, which has Cavs fans and should have Cavs fans slightly concerned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cavs Digest. I'm your host for today, Darayus Sethna. Thanks so much for joining me for today's video. Before we get into it, let me just remind you, like this video and subscribe to that Cavs Digest YouTube channel. We've been pushing content out on the regular here for quite some time now, so we want to keep you involved, keep you engaged. Make sure you like these videos and subscribe to our channel. It helps us out, but also helps you out. So, let's get into today's video because it's been an interesting week in Cavs basketball, and Matt has done a great job covering some of the recent news with Malik Beasley, and the Cavs are interested in signing Malik Beasley. So he's done, like I said, fantastic job covering all that. So I wanted to take this in a different direction now, kind of talk about some teams who I think aren't getting their due diligence, especially in the Eastern Conference. You know, when we've talked about, especially in my videos, talked about who really can challenge the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference, it's mostly been about one team, the New York Knicks, right? They're coming off that Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Jalen Brunson is a star in this league. In my opinion, right now is the face of sports in New York City, which is really saying something. New head coach in Mike Brown, so some new acquisitions as well to the roster. So I'm excited to see what the Knicks can do against the Cavs. I still would consider New York the biggest threat to Cleveland in the Eastern Conference. However, there's another team that I don't think we're talking about enough here, and that is the Orlando Magic. You probably guessed it in the intro earlier in this video, but it's got to be the Orlando Magic. This is a team that, to me, has been on the rise for a few years now and is only getting started. They are young, they are hungry, and they have something to prove. And that really starts with their head coach, in Jamal Mosley. And when I think about Mosley, I see a lot of similarities to when J.B. Bickerstaff came to the Cleveland Cavaliers or was promoted to that head coaching role right before COVID with the Cavs. He really was that culture builder, right? Took a team that was kind of just in the middle of nowhere, losing games, no culture, and brought them back to a sense of relevance, found the stars in the draft, developed those stars, and helped them rise to a certain level where now they're a respectable team. Now they're contenders in the Eastern Conference. And kind of similar trajectory on the Cavs is when the Cavs were first starting to, rise in the NBA, especially in the Eastern Conference. Not a lot of people took notice. Not a lot of people really recognized that. And I think that's kind of a similar case here with the Orlando Magic. And there's the fact that people really just, I don't think, have grasped the fact that this is a team that is only going to get better. And when they're healthy, they are scary. And the primary reason for that, obviously Jamal Mosley, a great coach, but it starts and ends with their superstar in Paolo Banchero. He is really the conductor of the train, and his stats certainly prove that. If we go into what Banchero was able to do, particularly in last season, look at that, 34 minutes per game, was hampered due to some injuries this past season. That was the case with a lot of players on the Orlando Magic, so the team really didn't live up to its full potential this past season. But you still look at those numbers, right? 26 points per game, almost 8 rebounds a game, 5 assists per game, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with Banchero. He's a 3-level scorer, right? Can get to the free throw line, has got a nice jumper to get to that mid-range game, and then obviously can knock down 3-point shots. But he's also just a great overall all-around player, in my opinion. And the numbers really prove that, right? Not only the 26 points per game, but it's those 7.5 rebounds, those 5 assists, right? And then 45% from the field. That 3-point shooting, I think, is only going to get better in time, but I have seen Banchero shoot the ball. He has a nice jumper. That's really not the issue. I think the issue for him is just being able to knock those shots down more consistently rather than a mechanics issue. The Magic also made a huge pickup in the offseason, acquiring Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think this is massive for the Orlando Magic. Orlando last year was one of the worst shooting teams, especially from the perimeter in the NBA. And I think Desmond Bane is going to help out a lot. Bane really was the second guy behind Ja Morant in Memphis. Really, without Desmond Bane, they don't go on some of those playoff runs that they went on a couple years ago with Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. and company. But you look at it, 32 minutes a game, 19 points per game. I think that number might even increase in Orlando, especially if he's in the starting lineup. And then you look at that bottom stat there, about 39% from three. So I think just another spot-up shooter on this Orlando Magic team that really can take some pressure off Paolo Banchero and really have other players not have to worry as much about the shooting. So this is a big pickup, and it's going to be just another piece that Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs are going to have to figure out how to contain. But another key piece on this Orlando Magic roster, who I think has tremendous upside as well, is Jalen Suggs. Now, I remember earlier on in the summer, right before I came on the show, a lot of people were talking about Jalen Suggs, Darius Garland trade. But when I think of Jalen Suggs, and I was reading an article the other day, this is a perfect player comparison. He's kind of a poor man's version of Drew Holiday, or if I think that's the ceiling for Jalen Suggs, right? Just this kind of Swiss Army knife type of player, can do a bunch of different things. I think if he improves on that jump shot and most importantly stays healthy, he has a chance to, make a presence felt in this league. But you look at those stats, right? 16 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, about 4 assists per game as well. The three-point shooting, like I said, still a lot to be desired there. But the numbers show that there's room for growth, right? The numbers show that, hey, this guy can play, but if he can just take that next step, develop, and then, like I said, most importantly, stay healthy, he has a chance to be a fantastic player in this league. Now, one of the key concerns for the Orlando Magic is, particularly with Suggs, is that they don't have a true prototypical point guard, right? They don't have that Darius Garland type player who can feed other teammates, create scoring opportunities for themselves. They really don't have that prototypical point guard that you need in the NBA today. So the Cavs certainly have the advantage there. And then once again, like I said, Jalen Suggs has had had trouble staying healthy, and that was one reason the Magic kind of had a quick playoff run this past season. 5 games in the first round of the Celtics, and they were out. I guarantee you, especially the way the Celtics looked down the stretch of this past season, that series could have gone 7 games. If the Magic were healthy and playing their brand of basketball, that was easily a series that could have gone 7 games. But then looking kind of more into the Magic roster as well, they also have Franz Wagner, and this is probably the second best player on the team. Last season, 24 points per game, shot 46% from the field, 6 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. So similar to Banchero, another player who has that all-around type of game, can score, can rebound, can pass, and he was very dangerous against the Cavs in that 7-game series a couple years ago in the first round of the playoffs. So this is a player who, once again, like Paolo Banchero, is still ascending, still has tremendous upside, and I think has been coached hard by Jamal Mosley. Is not a guy who needs to be in the news or needs all that pomp and circumstance and all that stuff. He is just someone who is going to work hard, get buckets, do his thing. So his growth is going to be another concern for the Cavs. Who is going to be guarding him? What will he do against Cleveland? How can he be implemented against the Cavs defense? It's going to be interesting to see all of that stuff. Kind of getting more into specifics with the lineup now, right? This was a recent NBA or Twitter post I saw regarding the Orlando Magic starting lineup. When you look at that starting lineup, it's pretty top heavy. Again, if Jalen Suggs can stay healthy, that's a great spot at the point guard position. We obviously have Desmond Bane as that three-point shooter to round out the backcourt. Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, that is a very, very dangerous front court. Not only because they can score, but they can do other things. So that's a very dynamic front court in terms of their capabilities on the floor, and they're going to make some noise. They're going to be one of the top scoring front courts in the NBA if they can stay healthy. And then Wendell Carter Jr., I think, is just that perfect, kind of that Jarrett Allen role, if you will. Kind of just dunker spot, roll to the basket, do all the dirty work. But then also has some more polished offensive game than Jarrett Allen. So I like Wendell Carter at that center spot. But then they also have some key players on the bench. Tyus Jones, who's been that prototypical backup point guard for so long in this league, I think is another big pickup for them. And then they have some young talent as well. Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva had breakout games this past season. Mo Wagner, Franz Wagner's brother, really is that kind of enforcer type role. He's going to be the guy is going to get a little chippy, get in fights, do that fun stuff, kind of just to amp up the team, amp up the crowd. And then Jonathan Isaac is another player on the bottom there who, again, has tremendous upside. Almost 7 feet tall, has a jump shot, can do different things on the court. So I'll be interested to see how he continues to grow coming into this season. But at the end of the day, with all of this, these dynamic players, with Jamal Mosley building up the culture, the Magic certainly are a team to be reckoned with, and I think they haven't really received their due credit. So I wanted to spend some time today to talk about Orlando. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is a Cavs team that is loaded, right? There is a reason they are favorites to win the Eastern Conference. To me, the Cavs' depth is a little bit better than Orlando's, and they have more of a veteran presence. They have guys who, yes, although they've failed in the playoffs, they have that playoff experience. You have guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland who've been in the league for a while now. Even guys like DeAndre Hunter, Max Strus, these are guys who had to prove themselves and have been in big moments and have played in big moments. And although recently in those moments they have failed, they still have that experience, right? So to me, it's ultimately going to come down to the depth and the experience. And the Cavs excel in both of those categories over the Orlando Magic. But I did want to spend some time today talking about Orlando. I think they're going to be a formidable opponent for the Cavs. I would love to see how these matchups go this upcoming season, especially if both teams are healthy. But what are your thoughts? I want to hear what you have to think about Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. How do they stack up against Donovan Mitchell and company? Because this is a team that is going to make some noise this year in the NBA. I think this is the breakout season for the Orlando, and we'll see how the Cavs respond. But let me know about your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to that Cavs Digest YouTube channel, and I'll see you again shortly for another video here on Cavs Digest. Thanks so much for everybody. Take care.